Hi, Lois. So, I've been thinking about you a lot because I've been going through a very tender time, and it's reminded me of quite a few things. And it's also broken my heart open again to just the tenderness that lives in me, the tenderness that I know lives in you, and that is so delicate and so sensitive in intimate relationships. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to hold yourself when insecurities arise in an intimate relationship, or in other words, in some ways, when trauma arises, when memories arise. When I think about insecurity or trauma, what I'm meaning is that you will almost certainly find yourself in an intimate relationship where all of a sudden you feel really insecure. You know, maybe there are reasons outside, maybe not, but you in your own being feel insecure. You feel destabilized in terms of your own value, your own sense of yourself, or you feel insecure about the relationship. Often it's insecurity in general about like how could anything ever really work out and last, and be trustworthy. And then also, how I would identify a more trauma based or kind of relived experience on the inside emotionally is that it has a life of its own. So there is a real vulnerability in intimate relationships, especially as you're getting into them and going deeper into them, especially if you've had difficult, impactful experiences, either in intimate relationships or just in your sexual history. And how I identify in myself what is more like a trauma response is it does have a life of its own. It's often very visceral. It has an impact on I feel my whole body grip. I feel my heart tighten, my stomach hurt, and I literally get like, if apart from all the story, I literally get I can feel a certain panic, like something bad is about to happen, right? And that is a tone in my own being. You may find it as a tone in your own being at times if you really stop and listen to your body and ask, what am I actually feeling right now? And there's power in that, first of all. There's power in noting the whole story and then coming into your body to feel what you're actually feeling. So, you know, I've just gone through, a month maybe or more of just having feeling my heart contract on its own. I have a trustworthy partner right now, first ever, and he's not going anywhere. There is no reason, and in that, there is huge opportunity for me to feel what I'm feeling and realize that it's mine, really mine. So I just lost my train of thought on that. What I When a trauma response upwells and when the body is speaking in that way, there it is. One of the most powerful things you can do is to name the story, but then to come into your body, because that's where you can hear what the kind of what the impression is in you that's reliving itself, that is yours and maybe is not necessarily at all reflective of the truth of what's happening and needs real care. So for me, it's definitely, the feeling tone, and in my body, it's as if I'm about to die. There is an intensity to it, even on the level of emotional trauma, even if it's not, you don't think that it should be such a big deal. If you've been betrayed, if you have, like I have, had a relationship with someone who was addicted to pornography and had years and years of feeling very impacted by that, there are there are studies, for one thing, that demonstrate that does actually create PTSD. And you one of the places that you have the most power is to come in, really name what it is that you're feeling as a body tone and tend to that and to validate that. So in this video, basically, I'm wanting to extend a lot of love and a lot of gentleness and a lot of shelter around you as you go through the journey of opening to intimacy and find these thresholds and these moments where you just become so insecure, or you just feel completely spun, completely in a trauma response, and have to hold yourself through that. You know, I've written a book, Break the Grip of Past Lovers. I am immersed in deep feminine practice. I have women of strength and power and clarity around me. I have so much support. And what is sobering and noteworthy is that even with all of that, when this comes up in me, it must be tended to. It's not like it ever necessarily just goes away. And I think that there's a deep mercy to have for yourself in that I am finding for myself, where it isn't actually about, truly, it's really not about fixing it. It's really not about becoming unbroken. It's about the journey of love and self-reverence and sheltering in that again and again and again, no matter what's coming up. Because we are sensitive beings, and when we absorb impacts, when our tender places open and then get jeopardized or betrayed or hurt, it's deep, and it's a road to walk. The road is not towards being perfect or unbroken, or never being insecure again, or never having a fear, an irrational fear come up again, or feeling perfect. It's not that. And there's a strange illusion in the world, all over the place, about that. The road is to greater and greater intimacy with yourself, and greater resource in all that supports you and all that will walk with you as you face the things that you fear, as you bravely open your heart, as you learn this way of woman and the way of intimacy and opening your body and your treasure to another, to experience communion, union, to experience the beauty of togetherness. So I watched myself. I've been watching myself, getting counsel and all these things, and kind of noting things that are working for me. I wanted to share them with you and have a moment together, just validating each other in the place of, hey, like, you are an intense woman there, in the way that there is massive power and massive feeling that moves through you. It's okay. And it's so okay that things are going to come up for you that seem like they should have been finished 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last year when you had that big breakthrough. It doesn't mean anything. It's just what happens. The layers and layers of our being, just the mystery of how feeling and how our bodies and our souls open, we're in that. And it's not easy always, and it is confusing to know what to do and to know what's real when these things rise up and really take hold. For me, what I can feel, if I've been pushed, or if for some reason I find myself in a place that's really mine, that's really my kind of like a pocket inside of myself where I am still hurting, I can feel that I'm actually separate from what's happening. There's a feeling for me of like, oh, this is weird. Like, I'm living in a reality right now that actually is not totally responding to the truth around me. You know, it's like, for instance, in this case, it's like I can feel that I wasn't really receiving, like, here's my partner. He's completely trustworthy. He shows me in a million ways, all these things, and I could feel I'm not receiving it. Or it's coming through a filter, right? So this is going to happen, and we can. I was saying I felt a little bit like a cat trying to get my way out of a paper bag, but we can. find our way out. And I want to talk about that. So the biggest thing that I feel is true is if you're in a relationship and the intimacy is bringing up a kind of unwieldy or overwhelming insecurity or a trauma response in you, and you don't want it, part of it I'm aware of for me was the fear of like, oh God, if I'm going to be in this state, we're definitely going to lose this intimacy because this is ridiculous. But so it's like there's a wisdom in us that knows we need to be able to bring it to our relationship. That's where trust grows. That's where intimacy is. That's where the healing of these relational wounds is going to come. And we can't crush the relationship with it. We could poison it with our paranoia. We can inadvertently demean and dismiss all the love or all the trustworthiness that's coming toward us from a worthy partner by our own distrust that they had nothing to do with creating, right? There is a wisdom in knowing that there is a way to bring these things. They must be brought to this love that's in front of you, to this intimacy. But how? How can you do that? Because there is wisdom in the way of bringing it in a way that it can be received and that it actually does open the way to greater intimacy rather than create separation, right? Rather than make you feel more alienated from each other or enter into patterns and ways of relating that are still desperately colored by things from the past. So the thing I would say is get resourced and look at it together. So as much as you can, you want to own it, right? This is mine. And I've just been doing it. It's like, oh, this is mine. This insecurity where I actually feel I am touching my own sense of valuelessness, right? I'm touching my own trauma. I can tell because every time he opens up his phone or his computer, I get anxious because that used to happen for me when I was in a relationship with someone who watched porn, right? It's like there is residual impact still. So there's a way that it's not easy there's a burn. It's hard to look and be honest and say, oh shit, I feel completely valueless. I don't know my value right now. I have forgotten it. Like that, the kind of humility, the kind of honesty that takes, it requires a lot of strength, and I know you have it, to just be willing to name it so you know what you're dealing with on the inside. That's yours. And it will feel disempowering because to sit and have to say like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm worth nothing right now. Like, right? If that's what it is, or I feel completely inconsequential. I am 100% positive he's going to lie to me, right? Whatever it is. I can't trust anything. It's going to feel disempowering. But the power is not in that feeling. The power is in your willingness to name it and to sit in front of it so that it can shift, so that you can own it, bring it in to be what it is, which is a part of you, and then find the wisdom, find the healing, find your reverence for it, so that you actually, that's how you'll gather power from the experience. That's how you'll open more intimacy with your lover, right? So name it and get resourced. And you'll need to be resourced possibly even just to name it, because to be this honest with yourself means you're not projecting it on, you're not making it even about the past. You can understand that it's from the past. You can understand what may have triggered it in the present moment. But to name it as deeply as it is, to say, this is mine. This is my worthlessness. It lives in me. It's mine. There's a way that you start to say, like, okay, fine, I want all of me. I want all of me. I will love all of me. It's gorgeous, actually, and that's where the power is. It's not to assume that you always have an honest, empowered statement coming out of your mouth or even in your actions. So name it, get resourced. By get resourced, I mean, this is within your own being. You know, there's a way that you will need fortification in order to bring this in a good way to your relationship. And where you get that, I don't know. I get it from the practices. I get it from my school. I get it from therapy, right? From counsel, from friends. But I get it, and I make sure that I keep it close and turn towards it. Know that as you feed the river inside of you, as you nourish, you know, if you're feeling like, for me, it was this valueless thing, this deeply insecure place. And what I know about that is that means that I have an energy drain, and my essence has, for whatever reason, gotten too thin in my own being. So I knew to come to practices that would refill my vital energy, my feminine essence, and to do that, right? And it didn't make it perfect, and it didn't make it go away, but it did give me fortification to walk through this resurgence of part of me. Then, after you're resourced, then look at it together with your partner. So there's a way that when I first got together with my current partner, we found this list of the 5 secrets to happy, long relationships. One of them was prioritizing sex and intimacy, which I was pleased about. But one of them that was possibly that is equally powerful for me is it said, couples that really work look at problems as joint problems to be solved. So what I would say is where a lot of the trouble comes is when we either decide that it's all entirely our problem to fix and that we have to be perfect in order to come to this person, or when we make it about them and all of a sudden it's about the relationship and there's this like kind of back and forth and polarized experience. If you can take, say, let's take my insecurity as an example. If I can take that and come to my partner and just say, like literally looking at it like we're looking at it together. Here, it's out here. Here we are. Here is this that we're looking together. Here we are across from each other, and between us is this. It's my insecurity. It's my contraction. And this is actually what happened. I was able to say to him, I'm aware that my heart is just contracting. I am pulling out. I am pulling back. I don't understand it. And I know that it's not the best for our relationship. Can we look at it together? Right? And what you do then is you give your partner, you pull it out of all the subtle possibilities that you're making it about them, or that they're responsible somehow. And you're just saying, let's look at this together with curiosity and care because we love each other. And I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm also not pulling away to fix it on my own. I'm saying I can't. I can be aware that this is happening, and I know that between the two of us, we need to understand it together, right? So get resourced and look at it together. Name it fully. And I mean when you name it, like give it, like I feel like I mean nothing to anyone. You know, like really name it. And remember that the power is in the naming. Even if what you're naming feels disempowering. That's so important. And then get resourced. And then when you bring it to your relationship, remember that you're looking at it together. How can you bring it in that way? And the way you word it, the way you bring it energetically, even the way you set up the conversation. Can we look at this together? This has been my experience. This is what I'm noticing inside of myself, you know, and let it unfold from there, so that it's not becoming a polarizing thing in your relationship. It's not becoming a reason for jealousy and shutdown and blame and the gradual estrangement that happens when we don't when we stop bringing what's authentically true to each other, right? I think the other thing I would say is, in that, part of what you'll need to do in order to hold your own insecurities, in order to hold your own yourself, is to, on your own, deeply listen for what you need. Like, really ask, what do I need here? And be careful that it's not things like, well, I need him to blah, blah. Like, maybe. But maybe what you need is like for me, when I got really clear, it was like, oh, shit, I need reassurance. And I think I kind of need it mainlined. Like I need it on the daily, maybe. I need it. Like there's a humbleness in it, right? It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because anything. It's because I want to hear and feel your love, and how it would arrive to me is in reassurance. I need to hear that you're not going anywhere. I need you to be clear with me that that you love me, that it's like there was a way that under what reassurance is for me is basically like is the feeling of feeling him come up and kind of shore me up a little bit, contain me, right? Come close to me, lean in a little bit so I can feel him, right? He knows he loves me. He doesn't have to say that for himself. He's told me that, but he knows he's not going anywhere. He doesn't need to say that for himself, but I need to hear it. And it's okay. It was an amazing process to watch in myself because I couldn't speak my needs. That was a part of it. I was like, I can't, as soon as I have a need, like a true need come up that I really need from him, I can't get it out. I'm jamming up, right? So there is such a deep listening that's called for, to be able to even hear that you have a need, to then be able to understand what it really is, and then to ask for it. And the one thing I would say about asking for it is remember that it has to be an invitation, not a demand, and that your partner will need time to digest what you've said and to find their way of meeting it. So it's like, I can ask for reassurance, and I did. And what I have to do when I ask for that, I also I had a friend say, and be really clear, like, what should that look like? And that actually, I was like, really? And that actually helped him. It helped him to know what I actually meant. So I think there's a way that, asking for what you need and giving like some specifics, like, like, it would really feel good to me if we closed each night with gratitudes for each other. That would really feel reassuring to me. Something specific, right? But then open a little space, because the request has to go into your partner and then has to come out in an authentic way. So yes, maybe they can meet exactly what you're asking for, and maybe it'll be slightly different languaging, there needs to be a little bit of time so that it's not a demand, it's an invitation, and you are open to how it is going to move through them. How are they going to reassure you, or whatever it is that you need? And yes, this is a proving ground for your relationship. Are you both there to love each other? Will you lean in when things like this come up? Are you interested, both of you, truly, in understanding how to really care for each other? We come to each other and we are exactly what we are. We have our gifts and we have our vulnerabilities, and really loving each other means that We learn soul custodianship of each other. We learn how to really help each other. And I don't mean, mother. I don't mean all the things. I mean to be a soul friend to each other. To hear something like, oh, like in my case, oh, every relationship, every serious long-term relationship you've ever had, your partner has lied to you. They've all been dishonest. And you are coming to me with a road in front of you, which is, how do you actually trust? How could you actually open and not fear always that maybe something's going on behind the scenes? I come with that. I personally, that's with me. So, for my partner to love me enough to say, like, and I want to understand how to care for that in you. I know that I'm trustworthy. I want you to know that I am. I want you to feel it in all of your being, because I love you and I'm ready for you to give way to me. I understand what this treasure is here. So this is proving ground for your relationships as well. Like, it's a call to greater love and greater intimacy and an expression. You can love each other on the inside, but this is when you start to really say, like, will I put my actions, my power, my time, my love into action? Will I be and express the love that's inside of me? So that's what I wanted to share with you, is mostly just in feeling my own tenderness, in really being called in to hold myself first and foremost, and to hold myself in some places that are really challenging to hold. I've really felt you, and I felt like reaching out from inside of my own journey to validate your own, to offer what I'm learning, what's working, and just to encourage you to know that you can hold yourself. And that's where the power lies, in your holding of yourself, even when you feel disempowered, even when you feel insecure. Let that part of you rise up that can come around and say, I'm going to take you in, all of you. You feel unworthy. I feel unworthy. It's mine. Give it to me. What I will tell you is that everything like that, insecurities, anxieties, feelings of worthlessness, they all come with a seed of your true power and your true essence inside of them. It's a place of reclamation and redemption for you. And when you redeem, when you bring in and embrace that part of you, it will give way to a much deeper understanding of yourself, a much deeper closeness with your actual power, your actual worth, right? Your actual stability inside of yourself. That is how it works if you embrace. So just feeling you, wanted to have a moment about that, and really wanted to share the pieces about how can you bring these things, how can you not only hold yourself, but then bring these things to your intimacies, because it's necessary that you not isolate from your intimacies, and also that you don't demand more than an intimacy, or than a partner is in a place to give. Nobody can hold us fully the way that, like, we have to hold ourselves. Even when we're being held by another, they can't, no one, no matter how hard they try, no matter how amazing they are, can hold us in the place that we must hold ourselves. It's just never going to happen. So, I think a lot of us end up in the place where we do end up asking a lot of our partners that they just straight up can't give, even if they wanted to, because it's not in natural law. We must hold ourselves. That's the walk, right? So it's both. Anyway, sending a lot of love to all of you, and so much support for the brave walk of knowing that love is real and being willing to endure, to face what we each carry, and to really make some gold out of it rather than to drown in it, rather than to lose ourselves in it. I'm here to support in any way that any of my offerings can support you in that. I did write a book about it, Break the Grip of Past Lovers. And that's why it was so amazing to watch myself go through this experience recently of like, holy shit, you can live it, spend decades immersed in the practices, write a book about it, write a best-selling 65,000 person course about it, and still, the truth is that it's always a journey. How grateful was I that I have all those tools and that I've written the book and that I've lived in it? Very grateful. And, this is life. This is intimacy. It is going to, I get it. It's going to pull it all up and say, look here. Look at all that you are. Have reverence for all of that. Care for all of that. So we're in the pre-order phase of my book. It's really helpful if you want the book, if you pre-order before it launches. And there's a free course that goes along with it, Sacred Needs and Your Sexual Archetype. I'll put a link below. But in general, just the pieces to remember from this video that I think are most important is fully name what you're actually experiencing, get resourced, and then when you look at it with a partner, look at it like you're looking at it together. Bring it between the two of you, in your love, and look at it together. Like, it's not yours, it's not theirs, it's in the relationship. It's part of your third thing. And how will you walk with it? Together. Make sure that that's the way, that's the architecture behind how you approach these things so that you don't polarize. And that you and your partner both have a chance to rise up into love around whatever this is that it's making itself known inside of you. So much love. Blessed be.